Hi everybody, my name's Lawrie Kirk and I'm from the APMG office in Canberra, Australia, and I'm the regional lead for APMG in this area. Today I'd like to welcome to our midday mentor session Suresh GP, and Suresh is from TaUB Solutions based in Bangalore in India. Good afternoon, how are you, Suresh?
Hey, thanks, Lawrie. How are you doing? Thanks for having me at this midday mentors session. So I'm really looking forward to have some great conversation today.
Exactly, and for those who may not know, be the first time you've tuned in or seen this video prediction, what you might like to know is we started this since March, initiative that came from our head office and said, look, we realised there's a lot of people that were wanting to have 20 or 30 minutes off in the middle of the day, and we have a lot of people at home, as you can see. I'm still at home, working from home, but as most of us are. But it's a great opportunity we've got a number of mentors around the world that we've been interviewing and having great conversations with. Today we're talking with Suresh about business relationship, and in an earlier podcast I talked to a similar colleague in Australia. So it's a lovely follow-on today about what are some of the trends about business relationship in Asia Pacific. And Suresh is very well qualified. Suresh, you might give us, the listeners and our audience, a bit of an idea of where you are and the extent and breadth that you have for training.
Absolutely. Thanks, Lawrie. So hi, everyone. I'm glad to be part of the session. I head as a managing director for TaUB Solutions. TaUB Solutions, people talk about what is TaUB. TaUB stands for Taking You Beyond. Our mission is to take our customers and business partners to a journey of envisioning a strategic outcome. So that was something which really fitted well when we started in 2014. And I'm also the regional ambassador for Asia Pacific with the BRM Institute. So one of the roles beyond being an accredited training organization with APMG is to also evangelize the BRM body of knowledge to audience worldwide. It could be on consulting, training, and also business simulations. Now, what is also important is that I'm one of the 6 certified coaches, BRM coaches worldwide. So which also gives us, and there was a rigorous process that we went through APMG to make sure that you fit the bill. Now that's one of the things I like about APMG, because they have high quality standards, and BRM Institute wants to make sure that we have high quality standards everywhere. So that's been about things. I've been doing business relationship management for the last 5 years now, since 2015, and it's been exciting so far.
Great. Well, you find that when we're talking about business relationship, when did you really start getting interested? How many years have you been, you're a training company, and I've learned something today about what TaUB stands for. So always you've answered, I've learned something in the first 3 minutes. I won't forget it now, Taking You Beyond. But I'm interested in, when did you first hear about the Business Relationship Management Institute and what they offer?
Absolutely. So I think I've been coming from a service management world, ITIL version 2. So I've been ITIL version 2 master since 2005 when I was part of HP, and a lot of things on the ITIL, as people say in a word. And now, so a lot of times when we talk about service management and being from a provider organizations, you have a lot of things about contracts and service level agreements. So one of the things that I got a really aha moment was when I got exposed to the BRM maturity model. I was actually on Twitter following BRM Institute, and I looked at the BRM maturity model, which talked about ad hoc, order taker, service provider, but then it talked about trusted advisor and strategic partner. That was a moment of truth for me, that we always talk about service provider, SLAs, but the customer is still bleeding. So how can you kind of build that trustworthiness and become strategic partner? So that was something which was an aha moment when I started to explore that. And I was very curious to know about this BRM body of knowledge. And that's how I got introduced to it. And I was fortunate to talk with Aaron Barnes, who's the CEO of BRM Institute. And we had some great conversations. And then he said that, what's your purpose? So I really like that, focusing on the purpose. that was very important rather than just looking at it as a training or a consulting opportunity. So for
Yes.
me, I think the BRM Institute's vision and mission was so compelling for me that I thought I should be a part of Bandwagon. I was fortunate enough to be associated with BRM Institute since 2015, doing
Yes.
BRM capability. So that's been a great journey so far.
Well, it is a journey, and for people who may not have realised that we're talking about what do we mean by business relationship, because people may be listening and say, well, I think I know what it means, but what does it actually mean? What are you teaching about business relationship?
Well, I think that's a great question.
Can you help me? What is business relationship?
Absolutely. People think that relationships that's not rocket science. We've been doing it for years now. Why is that special emphasis on business relationship management? I think there is a lot of difference. One of the first difference is that there is a science and art to relationship management. So one is understanding the science behind relationships. How do we focus on different techniques, practices, on the purpose, but also importantly, how do we build in that BRM as a capability? Because everyone in the value chain looks at relationship from a completely different perspective. A particular provider and a customer can look at from a barter system. Okay, I am paying you this one, you get me this, you get me the product or service. That is very transactional relationship. And there's another relationship where we talk about, well, we need to be strategic partners. We have to have shares risk. We need to share risk and rewards together. Now that is the highest level of relationship. Now everything is a relationship, but are you willing to pay the price for relationship? That is so important. And some people want everything, but they don't want to pay a dime for it. So that becomes a little difficult. So there is a lot more towards the art and science that we cover during the business relationship management course, and it's very structured for 3 days, focusing on key competencies, namely the strategic partnering, business IQ, portfolio management, provider domain, business transition management, and powerful communications. So it's very interesting that 3 days we engross ourselves into building those competencies, and I would say that we have a lot of conversation. People say that this is so important. Wish we had known this way before we could build great relationships.
It is, and we've all been suffering, and we are still suffering from the effect of COVID. What has been your observation then of the need to have that relationship between business and IT providers? What have you observed, particularly in your area, over the last 6 months? It's now been 6 months.
So I deal a lot with Asia Pacific, right? So I go from the Australia to Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia. One of the things that you have seen that it's sometimes blessing in disguise. While we all know this pandemic situation has put us into a spot, one thing that is not reduced is the relationshipism. BRM Institute takes this as a relationship-centered organizations. So today, a lot of things have to be done beyond just about roles and responsibilities. For that, you need to build genuine, authentic relationships that sustain for the future, not just within your internal partners and support groups, but also with third-party providers, the entire ecosystem. So what we have seen is that today, everybody is talking about digital transformation because COVID-19 has accelerated digital transformation. Now, the point is that what do we need to do to ensure digital transformation is sustainable, right? It's not just just one time I get it across and I'm done, right? So the ability to foresee things, what we call as demand shaping, is a very integral part of strategic relationships. And that's where I think today business wants IT to take a driver's seat. What I call as technology becoming the center of the whole, what I call as the nucleus of every organization. So they are envisioning on strategic outcomes or taking business to lead changes. And I think for that purpose, the IT should take up the game much higher than whatever we expect to do it. And that's where I think it's a good culmination of practices, principles, and values that make this as an integrated ecosystem. That's how I look at it.
One of the, I know it's very strong with resources that are going to be difficult and challenged in organisations because income's gone down. The word value becomes quite real for people. So I think your comments on any way that we can say to audiences that this is also going to make your reduce and get better value from what you invest in. I think that could be a huge opportunity for business relationship management training in the next few months or even within a year.
Absolutely. And I think what we have two things. One is called value management. We talk about value creation, but we also have to focus on minimizing value leakage. Right. Something like a communication which is not done well is a value leakage. An outage is a value leakage. Something we promised we didn't deliver, it's a value leakage. Business case that is prepared but not delivered is a value leakage. So I think the focus is to also minimize value leakage. That way, you can actually focus not just on value from a quantifiable metrics, because one of the things that you would agree, Lawrie, is value is very subjective in nature. You cannot quantify, put a number onto that, and it becomes so difficult to manage that. But then you're right, every organization is talking about what is the value that I'm providing for my customers, my business partners, for my employees, for example, employee experience. So I think it's so important that VRM can be built as a capability within the organization and also outside the organization. And that's why it's so powerful.
Yeah. So powerful. That's, and I think it's, we are seeing also, we're talking about I think it's unprecedented, the amount of use of videoing and working from home, etc. So I think that anyone in the business side that thinks IT just sit there and service tickets, they're starting to appreciate what might be going on in the schemes. Even as we speak today, I know that both our respective IT areas are protecting us from cyber attack, shielding us. I think we should have. I think business has a newfound appreciation of the work that IT is doing it, and so I think we can build on that. I think there's what we're getting from this is not only that appreciation. Do you see that also in some of your interest for classes coming through? Do you think they have a greater appreciation?
Absolutely. I think we have had people who are business partners as well as the providers come together and do a course called like strategic partnering courses. They work together and say, hey, how can we partner this together? Like one of the things that I had the CIO talk about is we don't want to be involved after the strategy is already formed. We should be having a seat at the table. So a lot of conversations today is telling that IT should earn a seat at the table. You don't get just invited. You should prove your mettle to gain a seat at the table. So there's absolutely imperative because business doesn't want to lose the mileage if IT is behind the scene. They want to carry on the baton and run at much faster than what they are doing today. So you're absolutely right. They have to be integrated. They have to work together towards a common strategic goal, but ensure that we are having a skin in the game. It's not about, business did what they could do, but IT did not do. I mean, we have to do it together to either progress forward or fail together. So I think that it is two dire consequences if you don't work together.
So if anyone's listening there and they've got an opportunity where they feel that they would like to have some way of working closer, bringing their IT, and if you're a CIO listening to or a person on the business side, when you're running, you may give me an outline. There's two levels of certification: the business relationship manager professional, and another one that the certified business relationship manager. What I'd like to do is just ask a little bit of an outline of those. But secondly, would you, because you might want to share some really internal knowledge, do you do that for in-house training? Is there an advantage to roll this into an in-house? Because it could be a great sort of opportunity to bring a team together.
Absolutely. And I think there's so much power, Lawrie, to have an in-house dedicated session, because what we do is we don't do a out-of-the-shelf BRMP class. So business relationship management professional will also have to be customized to the needs of your business partner. So we have had in-house workshops for merchandising companies, telecom companies, energy companies, non-profit organizations, which also means that you need to understand the context before we apply business relationship management for their respective organizations. So what we have done is we have actually had the sponsor, we have a meeting with the sponsor like this and ask them, what is one or two takeaways that you want to achieve? Is it the strategic partnering? Is it improving your capability? Let's be very honest, because if you don't, I mean, with the lawyer and the doctor, you have to be telling the truth. Otherwise, we cannot help them. So we tell them, you have to be, we are in together. We have non-disclosure agreements. So let's try to find out what's the goal that we are going to achieve. And then the use cases, the user stories will have to be specific to the domain. So we had automobile companies, we have financial companies. So until you contextualize with use cases, they will not be able to resonate that within the head. And that is so important. And because it's an in-house, Lawrie, people are willing to share their ideas openly without any constraints. That enhances the quality of discussions.
I think that's a great idea. And now let's talk about delivery. Obviously, you've seen very few airports, which is probably a good thing in a time. Someone said, he said, I've seen more of my children and my wife in the last 6 months, I think I have in the last 2 years. So how have you sort of coped with delivering, and you've verged online? So if we were going to take you up on that, what options do you have?
I think today, I think people said that COVID-19 is becoming a lot more pressing. I said that we have increased by 200% trainings. So workshops are now scalable enough because people are willing to come and tune to live sessions. Like we do Zoom and Elements, we have breakout rooms. So one of the important things is about the engagement index. So we have a lot of conversations, some exercises, so people do not doze off in probably if it's an 8-hour session. So that's one part that we do. But also is important is that asking people to share their real-time experience. I've had public batches being so popular because you get to know insight from other people from other organizations without revealing any names. So that's a great opportunity, what I call as the wisdom that you learn from people's experience. And as a facilitator and trainer, you gain so much knowledge delivering these workshops over and over again. And that's the kick you get out of all these training courses, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you think that the people, a similar comment has been in this area, in Australia and New Zealand, is people are very tolerant of technological breakdowns. Of course, we have some technical issues, but they're finding that people that they're training all of a sudden are a little bit calmer about, a bit more accepting. Now, you've trained for many years. What have you seen that replicated in some of your courses or attendees?
You need to be very careful on the country that you serve, right? So if you look at the way we deal it with Singapore to Australia to US to Europe, it's completely a different monster altogether. So understanding the personas are very important. Their background is very important, and their inclination to sit across and listen. Some people would like to be very reticent. They want to just observe and note. So you need to nudge them to open up some of the conversations. So it is more about an art of facilitation. So understanding their background. So what I do, Lawrie, is I have one-on-one conversation with the candidates well before the thing, so that they have the icebreaker open. They're opening enough. I know a little bit of context of their experience and their intent. And then it becomes easier for them to drive a conversation. Oh, okay. This is regarding cricket. Probably, Lawrie, you can talk about what was the best practice around cricket. And then guess what? Lawrie just opens up his stories. And I think it's very important for everybody to practice that storytelling, because storytelling is going to be a huge changer for these conversations. And I love that. And working with different countries and cultures is so fascinating and so enriching when you do this.
Certainly in Southeast Asia, it's one of the things that even when I was training in Singapore many years ago in project management, and it was a privilege to have, you could have, I think I had 11 different cultures that were had in one class. And that was certainly a great eye-opener for me. Just coming back to, we've got a few more minutes. I'm interested about the business relationship manager professional. We've got people maybe thinking about this. Why would I want to go, the 2 levels of certification? Could you just give me a quick outline of which one I should go to, or as a prerequisite, or what would you suggest?
So I think anybody in any part of the field who wants to improve their capability, I focus on BRM as a capability rather than a role. So you might not have a designated role as a business relationship manager, but if you are in IT, you could be a project manager, you could be a architect, you could be a service delivery manager. Irrespective of the roles, you all want to step up your game to serve your business partner. And that means you need to have new competencies and capability. So the BRMP is a 3-day course focused specifically on competencies that gain you to become strategic partners. So it's like understanding the criticalities of these competencies that we talked about. Strategic partnering, what is portfolio management, what is business IQ, how do you develop business IQ or business acumen, how do you understand provider domain or service management better, how do you understand business transition management, some kind of an organizational change management, because there's so much of flux happening around, how do we adapt and adopt. And then we sometimes are very pathetic in communication, so how do you have powerful communication. So this is a very ingrained, deep level understanding of 6 competencies. That is that is what I call as the foundation level, which is a BRMP. But once you get that, how do you apply it in a use case scenario? And that is where I think I love about certified business relationship manager. To do certified business relationship manager, you have to be absolutely clear to complete BRMP, and then you get an entitlement to start even appearing for CBRM. And I love the way APMG has structured this course, because what happens is this course is dedicated for people who are practitioners. And it's been designed in a way that if you're not a practicing BRM or you're not practicing BRM capability, you will not pass the exam. And I'm not saying that with the kind of part, it is a merit earned. And that means that you have to go into the grind. There is a book that we give. People say it's an open book, it's easy. It's very difficult, because if you have not applied it on the ground with a use case scenario, you will not be able to do it. And that puts you into a different pedestal altogether, because people who are certified business relationship manager, who have earned it, who have practiced it, and who live by that principle. So it is so powerful. And for us, Lawrie, for us, it's not just about certifications, it's about applying these principles in our way we run business. We have business in India, Singapore, and the US. We see our business growing rapidly because of applying BRM. And that's why I'm so excited about it.
Well, that's great. And I know we're also, for people, Suresh and I have talked about some case studies that he's preparing. And I think this case study is also great with the number of people, a very, very large number of people that you've trained. I'm sure we can reach back and get some case studies. Now, our time is just about there with us. I really enjoyed this afternoon's discussion. There's one question that I think people also sometimes sit these courses, and they continually say, that was great, but what next? I know the Business Relationship Management Institute has a fantastic lot of resources there. You might just sort of outline to people who are thinking about going this path what additional resources they provide over and above, because what can someone...
I think one of the things that is, I would definitely recommend you to visit brm.institute. There's a whole lot of blogs that happens, and if you become a member, you can enjoy the online campus where we have about 25,000 members who can share insights. You want templates, you have some discussions. That's another part. We hold webinars at regular intervals so that you can ask any questions, because someone has gone through the same journey that you are in. And more importantly, we have mentoring options where if you want to have a mentor,
yes, 25,000 members to share your experiences. That's great. So.
And then APAC region has got this ability to have a dedicated session for APAC audience. So we have a community of interest that we have built in as part of BRM Institute, where we host people from APAC to come there and share their experience. So because then people say that, so we conduct podcasts in terms of like what you do to have practitioners say their words. So there's a whole lot of resources. Just go to brm.institute, it will take you for everywhere.
Fantastic. That's a great note to finish on, and I really like to think it's not so many times when you see that there's industry certifications that are addressing a business need. We've seen COVID come along and impact our business, but central to that, we've actually seen ways that you can improve relationships. So this afternoon, I'll leave it with you for a final comment, and then I'll close. But what you've just said is really great, that even people in APAC, which is where you're working, and you're working globally, but where you live and work has got its own community of practice. So that's great. Any final words before we close?
I think I need to give a shout out to APMG for evangelizing this whole thing in partnership with BRM Institute. And one of the things I like about the APMG's, these sessions are they really want to add more value to the community. And I think that's a very integral part of how we can grow this community. It's not, we all have a paycheck, we have a salary, we need to work on business, but that is not the intent. The purpose is so different, to deliver value in every conversation with our customers and business partners. And I'm so thrilled, you know, as we work as one family to make this bigger. So I'm thinking that it's a great opportunity that anybody wants to enroll for courses. APMG has got a good forum and opportunity to connect with people in your own regions and have the conversation going. Thank you so much, Lawrie, for having me as well, and continue to do this one.
It's great. It's a pleasure, and I think it fits in perfectly with the intent of Midday Mentors. We do have mentors around the globe, everybody. And today you've heard from Suresh GP. His experience in this area, you know, certainly is outstanding. We have a person, you can obviously see his passion for business relationship. And if you're interested, I particularly like my take home, but particularly like the way that if you have an in-house course, you could use that at a time when your team has been dispersed or working from home. This could be a great way of bringing that team together to do some really good practical strategic planning and understand how you can improve that relationship. Thank you very much for your time, and there'll be further details where this is posted where you can contact Suresh or myself. Really like to hear from you, and thank you very much for listening.